Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.
Hello and welcome to Notice Tonight, the show that decodes the region. The 3-week nationwide lockdown that is on since the 25th of March looks set to be extended by another 15 days until the 30th of April. Indications to this effect came after the meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi had today with all the chief ministers, most of whom suggested extension of the lockdown. Now, with the COVID positive tally nearing 7,500 and the death toll gradually mounting across India, extending the lockdown was perhaps the only option. But what will be the consequences of this? Yes, to break the chain of transmission of the virus, a lockdown is of course the best option. But what about India's poor and the needy? What about those who survive on a day-to-day earning? What about trade and business? What about our farmers? And of course, what about India Inc.? While we support the lockdown, we would urge the government to come out with an effective arrangement so that the poor do not go hungry. And for this, the delivery mechanism needs to evolve and put in place. To discuss the subject, I am joined from Shillong by the editor of the Shillong Times, Patricia Mukim. In Imphal, I have Dr. Amar Yumnam, professor at Manipur University. From Itanagar, I am joined by Arunachal NPP leader Jarpom Gamlin. And in Guwahati, I have Swapnanil Barwa, political analyst. But before we begin the discussions, let's listen in to a conversation that I had a short while ago with Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma. In fact, just after the lengthy meeting through video conference ended between the chief ministers and the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. Let's listen in to the conversation I had with Conrad Sangma. What did you tell the Prime Minister, Meghalaya? Did you also suggest that the lockdown should be extended?
No, we in fact I've written a letter. I've written a letter to Honorable Prime Minister about 3 days back, and we had already suggested that the lockdown, in the sense that there should not be any movement of people from interstate, and there should be restricted movement within the state, but there should be some relaxation in the basic economic activities like farming and day-to-day laborers in terms of construction and MG and RHGS at the local level without allowing any laborers across interstate, so that the local livelihood can at least move forward. So
right.
That is what we have suggested to Prime Minister, and I think it will be moving in that line only.
Okay.
Moving in that line only.
But now, after today's video conference, now government sources, that means the central government sources, are telling us that the Prime Minister is considering, or for that matter, the Government of India is considering a 2-week extension of the lockdown.
It's exactly. That's exactly what we want. You see, the confusion, what is getting confused is, what is the definition of a lockdown? Now, does lockdown mean that you stop everything and nobody goes out of the house? Not at all. Lockdown means there will be a lot of restrictions in the movement, especially interstate movement. There will be a lot of, stoppage in terms of public gatherings and social gatherings, the large markets, malls being open. So that is there. Now, amid this lockdown, just yesterday, Government of India has also announced that farmers, fishermen will be allowed to fish. You see?
Right.
So they're allowed. So this lockdown is continuing, but then fishermen are allowed to fish.
But
so
in that case, the state governments also have a responsibility to come up with very, very clear-cut guidelines so that it reaches the policeman on the ground, so that people are not stopped.
Absolutely. I think it will be very, very clear system. The lockdown would mean that big gatherings, interstate movement, and big malls, shopping malls, all these kind of things will not be opened. Okay, that will remain closed.
All right.
No airlines, no trains.
No airlines, no trains.
But lockdown will allow basic economic activities where a farmer, now for example, there is a village in say Garo Hills or in Khasi Hills where there is just the farmers themselves, about 50 families are living there.
Right.
Now, why can't we allow them to farm?
So where
they don't bring any
well?
laborers from outside, from Assam or from any other neighboring state. So similarly, if there's a weekly market in a particular village, and suppose the weekly market in the village only involves the people within the village, who will buy from each other or from the neighboring village, but then no trader from outside the state comes in. So why can't we allow them to do it? So it's like that. So we have the issue is going to be now balancing out between health precautions and ensuring that health is a priority, but looking at economic activities where there will not be any kind of danger to the health aspect.
So can we say that you have gathered this clarity after today's video conferencing with the Prime Minister?
No, we have been clear about it from our side from day one. We took a cabinet decision last week that this is what we want, and we have pushed this forward in our agenda to the Prime Minister.
Okay.
And what we could understand from the Prime Minister's talk is that exactly this is also what he has in mind.
Okay.
Balancing between health and concerns, keeping health as a priority, but ensuring that the economic aspects also are looked into.
Right. All right, that was Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Conrad Sangma. He has given a lot of clarity on what the lockdown means. That is his understanding, and he has said that this was decided in the Meghalaya cabinet meeting a week ago. So let's have everybody on the screen. What Conrad Sangma is saying basically, Patricia Mukim, is that lockdown means there will be no big gathering, there will be no interstate movement of people, no big stores, malls and stores will be open. There will be no trains and no airlines. There will be a balancing between health and economic activities. But what Conrad Sangma said is that basic economic activity has to go on. Now, Patricia Mukim, lockdown the best option? How do you look at it? It's almost likely that it will be extended for another 15 days from now. Not from now, but from the 15th.
From the 15th, yeah. Well, I think Conrad Sangma is very correct in what he said, and the assessment done in the state of Meghalaya, because I think every state's plan of action should be nuanced. In Meghalaya, we are fortunate we do not have a single case as yet. And therefore, I agree with the Chief Minister that the borders should be very tightly sealed, that we do not have interstate movement at all. However, there is also this need to make life appear as normal as possible, in the sense that I think all the shops should be allowed to open so that there is no crowding. The very fact that most shops are closed and people have to crowd to certain shops between certain hours,
Patricia,
it automatically leads to...
Patricia, when you talk about all shops must be open,
yes.
What is the need for a cloth shop or a toy shop at this stage? I think you are talking about essential commodities, isn't it?
No. I'm talking only about basic essentials. I'm talking about grocery shops and shops,
Right. So what you were saying, basically a balancing out...
And there's another...
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is that, we need to take a call every day, because a complete lockdown creates a sense of panic somehow. And that panic leads to some kind of mental health problems, because a person is already poor, then he is locked in, then he doesn't know if he goes out whether he will be able to buy what he needs.
Right.
All these factors have to be taken into consideration.
Let me go to
and like Conrad Sangma says,
right.
the farming community also needs to go on with their work, because this is the farming season right now.
Absolutely. Now, let me go to Imphal. Professor Amar Yumnam, how do you view the stand of the government? This perhaps is the best option, lockdown. But do you have any rider to it? How are you viewing this? Because, most of the chief ministers suggested that lockdown has to be extended.
See, controlling the spread of the disease, there can be no two opinions on that. So extension of lockdown, well, that is one. But the issue is when we discuss or we consider the impact and who bears the incidence of burden. Well, the incidence of burden is not borne equally by all sections of the population. There are certain sections of the population whose requirements, even though it's not on a high scale, is not something which can be postponed. So we have a section of population whose requirements, even though on a high scale, but has to be met immediately. I'm talking about Delhi wage earners, those who are living from hand to mouth. So they feel the incidence of the burden on a degree much deeper than the general population. So the impact, even though it is generalized, but the incidence of burden is borne differently by different sections of population. So the issue is whether how can we take care, well, the needs of the population whose requirements are immediate and has to be met. Because if we don't do it, if we lengthen the lockdown and if we open it up, immediately, I tell you, there will be stealing and other crimes will come off.
All right, so we have to treat really carefully. Jarpum Gamlin, what is your take, your opening remarks on the almost final decision? We have not yet heard an official decision yet, but what sources are telling us that after this video conferencing today, Prime Minister and his government has almost decided on another 15 days extension of the lockdown. Jarpum.
Yeah, in fact, if at all extension happens this time, I think people are well prepared, unlike the last time, number one. Number two, be it central government or the state government, I think communication needs to be very clear what lockdown means.
Yes.
Because the last time there was so much of confusion that there were the high-handedness of cops also we had seen, and even now it continues in some parts of the country, even in Arunachal Pradesh. That's number two. Number three, I think economic activities, if at all it has to be continued also, it need to be specified. Say, for example, you are talking about daily wage earner. For me, not only daily wage earner, but even the private enterprises, even say, for example, running newspaper. Now, in a state like Arunachal, there is a clear instruction that fuel should be given to the media person. But in capital complex, in Itanagar, in and around Itanagar, the fuel owners, fuel stations have denied giving fuel to even the journalists. So finally, yesterday it was resolved. So, government needs to be clear about its communication, what all activities can go on and what all cannot go on. However, having said that, I believe lockdown is the only option that we have, more so in a state like Arunachal, where hospital management is very, very poor. I mean, we are not prepared at all, if at all, we have cases of, COVID positive patient.
Yeah.
We are not ready to handle those cases. And we can't handle influx of new, be it student or new migrants. We are not in a position to tackle even hundreds of, in a quarantine center. We are not in a position. So I think this is the best option.
Best option. Now, Swapnil Barua, from what you have gathered, lockdown is the best option. But what our panelists are so far saying is that there has to be a clear chain of communication from the government to the people who enforce this lockdown. You have policemen, arresting and holding up small vans which are carrying vegetables. Now, that way you are depriving both the consumers, that is the people who are waiting for the vegetables, as well as that small farmer from whom this person, the trader, has gone and perhaps bought the vegetables. Now, you are arresting the people, and if you keep the trucks in there was at least several cases like that. So, now these kind of incidents, what kind of clarity, because government has to sit down and come up with this, come up with a mechanism for that.
I think Wasbir, the whole thing was that it came as a storm for the political leaders also. And as you can see, the extension is basically motivated by, or rather been egged by the need that the political establishment throughout the country is not yet ready with what happens if the epidemic really breaks out in the proportions of Italy or US. You know, they are very apprehensive, and I don't think the worry is showing clearly on the face of the Prime Minister. I think you've never seen him with a face covered, but today in the press conference or the conference with the Chief Ministers, all throughout we saw him with a mask on, which means that he is trying to convey a message that things are not yet under control. Yes, it is under control, but we cannot rule out a possibility of a explosion coming off somewhere or at some time. So this precaution apparently is working behind the minds of all the thinkers. And you know, by this time, I think the good thing is that even the state governments have now realized that there is a need for taking care of the people, the poverty aspect of it, especially the daily laborers and the unlisted one. The organization is spreading out. I think all state governments have been very successful in giving the free rice to the people who are listed under the Food Security Act, and it is now, but I think there is still more to find out the actual number of people who are in the field, who are daily laborers and do not have the ration cards, because I don't think as yet they are depending on the dole that is being dished out by charitable organizations and social NGOs, but I don't think still that those people, any attempt has been made to list those people and see that they are given cards.
There are several issues, Patricia Mukim. I'm coming to you as well, Amar Imnam. Yes, Amar Imnam, you are trying to say something. Please continue. Yes, Amar.
Yeah, well, the problem we have right now is that the authorities who are implementing the lockdown, they look at it as a law and order problem. It's not a law and order problem. It's a social crisis which we have to very carefully manage. But so far, as you say, the policemen, the way they are behaving, and they are behaving as if they are administrating a law and order problem. So it's not a law and order governance issue. It's an issue of managing the livelihood of people in a crisis situation. And this is exactly where the government also should constitute. Well, every state government should constitute an advisory committee who are active 24/7 so that, well, all those issues of livelihood of the people, whether daily wage earners or weak population or poor population or whatsoever, how do we address those issues so that as a fallout of the lockdown, while trying to control the spread of the disease, as you said, as you have quoted, well, people die of hunger. Because the biggest problem right now, whatever, even in the case Manipur, what we keep saying every day is that, well, the crisis is getting manifested in another form where the inequality is getting deeper.
Okay,
so the inequality between the people who are rich and
Patricia Mukim,
it's a crisis.
Yes, yes. Patricia Mukim, I think this is a very good suggestion coming from Professor Amar Yumnam. He's saying that why can't every state have an advisory panel, and this advisory panel should have people from the government, people from the administration, people from the Food and Supplies Ministry, people from the Social Welfare Department, and some civil society leaders, prominent citizens and civil society leaders. This will be an advisory body. This will listen to...
we should have people... We should have people from academia as well, especially from the departments of sociology, department of...
Let us, that is a different issue. Now, yes, but you know, do you think this is a good idea? Because first of all, the governments, what is the lockdown, what are the things which is exempt, that is not very clear as yet. There has to be more clarity on that. Number two, Patricia Mukim, thousands of our young people, young and old, are stranded in different parts of India. Thousands and thousands of people from the northeast are stranded. Now, they don't have unlimited financial support. They don't have unlimited cash with them. You know, lockdown is fine. We are happy with the lockdown. But what is the government doing? Is the government planning? And I think now we are already on the 13th day, and we have got another 20 days to go. You know, I think government has to come up with some kind of clarity on cash assistance to our people who are holed up outside. Do you agree, Patricia?
I agree very much, because there are people in Bangalore, for instance, who've been fed by a certain NGO headed by a retired colonel, and he's been doing it, purely out of charity. But this feeling of charity, there will be a compassion fatigue after a while. People have to move on. Then see, when you run a charity, you also need donors. The donors need to have some source of income. So it's a kind of a very, not a very happy state of affairs. And therefore, I think there is a great need for strategic planning at this point. And you know what? I think when you are speaking about communication, I think we need to have on board a risk management communications expert. Because over here in Meghalaya, for instance, so some people were given curfew passes, and the curfew passes were given online. Now the cop on the street didn't hear about that, didn't know that there were curfew passes given online which could be printed out by people. And so people were stopped. So the communication down the line somehow is not happening very well. And I think at this point we really need very strategic thinking. The Chief Minister of Meghalaya said we have to define a lockdown. I think that definition is critical, because we do not want to lift the lockdown. I think Amar Yumnam had said that if we lift the lockdown at this point, it can be very dangerous. And people are now quite used to this lockdown. So you don't want to open up and then to have another lockdown. That would create even more confusion.
I think
so if in a state like Meghalaya you want to release...
Yes,
yeah.
You
want to release the lockdown, you have to do it very strategically.
Very well said. 2-3 things which Patricia Mukim, very important points that she has made. You have to define the lockdown, you have to strategize now. And there are people outside who are stranded. Government has to come out with in support of that. That communication has to trickle down. What is a lockdown? What are the exemptions, etc. Yes, I'm coming to you, Jarpom, but Swapnil Boro, you are trying to interject.
And what I was trying to say is that listing of the people has not yet happened, I think. As I was trying to take the help of media, I think the government should have taken the help of media by finding out the relatives, appealing to the relatives that, look, where are your children? Please let us know at this number, so that then you can locate them and find out one-to-one as to where they are, what is their financial condition. Now imagine a remote village in Garo Hills or in Arunachal. He may be having a student son or daughter studying in Bangalore. How does he do bank transfer or RTGS to that particular student? I mean, that's going to be very difficult. So that is where the government has to interject and somehow work out a mechanism to find out who's where and in what condition, and organize the relief, or if you call it relief at all.
No, there are a lot of things, Jarpom Gamlin.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me, Wasbir, can I just come in here for a bit? The government of Meghalaya has given some helpline numbers where those who are outside stranded, my own daughter is stranded in Delhi, so they have to register on those helpline numbers. And then, people call from here. There are people who are calling stranded people in Calcutta, in Delhi, everywhere. They call them and they find out how they're doing, what they need. So I think at least I can say for the government of Meghalaya, it has done that pretty well.
Okay, so these are the stories that people have to replicate. Whatever is clicking, whatever is coming out helpful in this hour of crisis, I think the other state governments must immediately replicate. Now, Jarpom, the other day, the couple of days back, the Assam Health Minister, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, said that as soon as the lockdown opens, all the people would like to return home, but we cannot accept everybody together. 50,000-60,000 people cannot come back. Where are we going to quarantine them? So they have to register. Then government to say, okay, first batch 10,000, second batch 15,000, 5,000, like that. Now the question is, this will involve the other northeastern states as well, because Guwahati is the major air hub, major train hub is Guwahati. Now, what is your suggestion? How will people register? A lot of people are asking me that they want to come back home after the lockdown, but where can they register? They have to buy their ticket, they have to book their tickets and so on and so forth. Now, do you think government has to do a lot, a lot of streamlining is necessary?
See, we as
like
of
they
now,
say,
we don't
"Jaan
even
hai to
have
jahan hai."
categorization
I
of the
think
people who need immediate help.
People should.
I think
We have that
let
issue.
Jarpum finish.
Are you asking me or somebody else is speaking?
No, Amar, please wait. Let Jarpum finish.
Yeah.
Yes, Jarpum.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, jaan hai to jahan hai. So I think people who are stranded outside, I think they should have some patience. They should hold on now for some time, 2 more weeks. I think it's not just people from outside. I think at least people who are stuck in metros. Now government has developed a mechanism to take care of that. Like in Meghalaya, even in Arunachal, they have helpline number where they're calling up and issues are being resolved. I think there's a great coordination being shown by the IS fraternity. Say for example, some person is stuck in Chennai, then IS officer from a particular district of Arunachal calls up the IS officer there, the magistrate there, or the DM there, and they're resolving it, supplying them, taking care of the kids over there. So now that's one part of it. Now second part are the laborers. I'm worried about another set of people, like who have been working in, say for example, projects in the interiors of Arunachal.
Yeah.
There are people from Bihar, there are people from Assam who are stuck in deep forest, and now they're not getting the supply of rations. Now, and they do not have the beneficiary card also to avail the supplies of the government. Now, at the moment, they are surviving on charity. Now, like Patricia said, there would be fatigue that would set in sometime, after the charity fatigue would set in. So, we are worried about that part of it also.
Right.
So,
Now,
overall,
Wasbir, can I just
having said that,
make
now
a
coming
point?
back to your question. Now let me come back to the question of Himanta Das, what he said. Now, even getting people on staggered basis of 5,000, 10,000, I think we should hold on. I would not recommend at the moment.
okay.
For
Now,
us, Guwahati is the gateway to Northeast. If something goes wrong in Guwahati, it would explode. And so we have to be very, very
Now-
careful. And already Indian Medical Association Arunachal chapter has already given in writing to Assam government requesting them not to open the lockdown, and it should continue, because moment you open Guwahati, then whole of Northeast, even today the brighter side of the whole COVID scenario is that we have not more than 50 positive cases in whole of Northeast. That's because Guwahati, you have in Assam, you have a person like Himanta Biswa Sarma who has been superbly performing his job and has taken care and ensured that it does not explode. I think he should continue towards that effort.
absolutely
Wasbir, can I
yes,
make a
no
point
doubt
here?
about that. Yes, Sapna.
One thing following from where Mr. Gamlinger has said, we were talking about this northeastern strategy for controlling COVID, which includes people will someday or the other come back. That is definite, as I am seeing that people are, the reaction as of now is that they will not like to go back to their jobs whenever they come back. So we will expect a rush, if not immediately within the lockdown, but after the lockdown. And this will call for a northeastern strategy of taking these people in. Because don't expect that the infection of recurrence
Absolutely.
of the infections will not happen. So taking Guwahati as the hub, I think someone in center should start now to take cognizance of the fact that there will be some
Absolutely,
people
you are
coming back
absolutely correct.
and,
I'll have to
preparing.
strike you off right now. Professor Amar Imnam, I'm going for a break, but very quickly, Professor Amar, so what are you trying to say actually? Yes.
No, what I was trying to say was that we are groping in the dark. We are talking of intervention or responding to the, secondary crisis being caused by the lockdown. To begin with, we must immediately categorize the groups of people according to the inconveniences they face and quantify. Let us categorize and quantify the interventions where, because it cannot be one intervention, because someone we are going to have in Bangalore cannot be the same intervention be applied here as well. So let us categorize the inconveniences where we need to respond and quantify the inconveniences so that we know at what scale this program is to be implemented. So
Absolutely.
immediately we have to do it. Already we have almost, so we need it to be very clear what we are going to do on what. It's not that we keep on talking of this, talking of that, and no. we should
Now,
not scatter
we'll-
our concentration.
we'll go for a-
We
we'll-
should
we'll-
be very definitive in our
Absolutely,
concentration.
absolutely. You are bang on there. We'll go for a break, but don't go away. When I come back, we'll also have to talk. Now that the lockdown is being extended, God forbid, there is no situation that we have to extend it further beyond the 30th of April. We hope things are under control, but we have to prepare ourselves. We have to prepare ourselves for the worst case scenario. If that happens, what will be our strategy? We'll talk on this and lots more. Don't go away. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Northeast Tonight. The question is, Patricia Mukim, does everyone agree that now this could be a long haul? Let us prepare ourselves for a long haul. We have to fight 2-3 different battles. One is the medical battle that we are already fighting, and I think India is fighting the medical battle, the anti-COVID battle in the medical front in a very, very superb manner, number one. Number two is the broad economic battle. Number three is the micro level economic battle as to what is the destitute on the street. To the destitute on the street, you cannot provide, dal chawal, because they have no place to cook. You have to provide cooked food, And then thirdly, we are also facing, it might be a small in number, but also issues of racial discrimination. Several of our youths are facing racial discrimination. Some of them are reported because they are putting out videos. Some of them are not reported. Now, let me tell you a good news before we seek your opinion. Now, we have got a post from our very proactive police officer, Robin Hibu, who everybody from the Northeast knows in New Delhi. Robin Hibu had posted that a Subhash Nagar Gurudwara in New Delhi, following his appeal, is now cooking food Northeast style for the Northeastern people. What do you say about that? We cannot generalize everybody. Amar Yumnam, your first reactions.
Well, that's a wonderful thing. Wonderful, wonderful thing that will go a long way in nation building process.
Yeah, because Jarpom, we cannot generalize anything. If there are few bad people, there are too many good people in this country and the world, isn't it? We have to move ahead. Jarpom.
Absolutely, I think.
Well, the problem is that the bad things happen more often than such good things. That is where we have the problem.
Absolutely.
Can we speak one at a time, please?
Yeah, yes, Jarpom, you can speak. Jarpom, yes. Jarpom.
Yeah, I think I'm proud of Mr. Robin Hibu. I think he has been making a tremendous effort, and he's literally the face of Northeast in Delhi and all over the country as on today. I think earlier also he's been doing fantastic job of rescuing people, stranded people, runaway people. So he's been helping out.
Right.
And I think his efforts are bearing fruits now.
So having put this on record, Patricia Mukim, now, as Amar Yumnam said that we have to categorize what kind of interventions are needed. My question to you, Patricia Mukim, is that how do we prepare for a long haul? How do we fight this battle in the different fronts that I have just mentioned?
See, we have to, first of all, the information has to filter down to the lowest common denominator. In the case of Meghalaya, it is the Dorbar Shno, Unfortunately, the Dorbar so far has not been inclusive of all the residents. It's been purely a tribal institution. I think that has to change now. We've got to work together. This is a call for action, for united action. We have to circumvent all the boundaries, all the nitty-gritty that we've kept all along. Because even here, if you look at the scenario, the Sikh Gurdwara has been giving food every day to a whole lot of people. The Sindhis have been doing it. The Marwaris have been doing it. Then there is this ahar which is being done by Mr. Manas Chowdhury and his team. So different groups, and then Ramakrishna Mission. You know, we are all doing it separately. I
Right.
think
Right.
there is a call
No.
for collective action
Call
now.
for collective-
Let others also join
call
in.
for-
And I want to come back to...
Yeah.
No, 1 minute, 1 minute. I want to come back to Robin Hibu. He runs that NGO Helping Hands, and he has been doing phenomenal work. So I had put up that on my Facebook page, Helping Hands and the account number of the NGO, so that people from here as well who have the wherewithal can donate some amount, because it's not easy for him to manage that. Recently, we saw pictures of him distributing rations to all those people of the Northeast who were stranded in Delhi. Now they are also giving food. And then there are so many mental health cases that
Absolutely.
he's dealing
Absolutely.
with. He's going and burying somewhere in Chandigarh.
Right. Now, let me, before coming to you, Swapnanil Barua, let me also put on record the Fancy Bazaar Gurudwara in Guwahati. Today is the 13th day that they have been distributing the pizza people in serving Assam. There are innumerable individuals who are giving. There are individuals which we have come to know from their Facebook posts and other social media posts. This is a human service the people are doing. And of course, the Assam police, who has taken it upon themselves to sort of distribute essentials, which obviously people are donating, but in this critical hour they are distributing food, and they are, in fact, truckloads are being distributed to villages. They have appointed a nodal officer, DIZ rank officer in Assam has been appointed. Now my question to you is not that. Let's look at the bigger picture. Swapnanil Barua, since we should prepare for a long haul. Now that Amar Yumnam suggestion, do you think we should implement it sooner than later? What Professor Amar had said, that we have to have an advisory kind of a panel where we have people from the key departments, administration, health, food and civil supplies, and social welfare, and include a couple of people from the non-government sector. Do you think that is going to work, which will look into people who are stranded outside, the destitute issue, the feeding issue, the farmers issue, people, vegetable sellers not being able to do their trade, so on and so forth. Do you think that is a good idea?
I think that is a brilliant idea in the sense, because my experience in Assam has been that we have started things serially. First it was getting the medical paraphernalia in order.
That is in order now.
Then they went on to the enforcing the lockdown. Then they, after a week and 10 days, then only they started thinking about food and civil supplies or moving the agricultural surpluses. If you go serially, it won't happen. Now my concern is that the lockdown has been extended. Now the replenishment of supplies is a very important, or is going to be a very vital issue now. And as I see from the TV, that the transportation sector, especially through the road network, has not opened up to the extent that is required. Even the essential supplies are not coming through because the food for the truckers on the way has not yet been opened. And there was this interview, I think I saw it just before coming, where the truck drivers are holed up because they can't move ahead. And again, there is an interstate difficulty of clarity. One state is asking for this paper, the other state is asking for another paper. At every stage of transshipment, this is becoming a hassle. And I think so far as the state government, I don't know whether all the state governments in the Northeast are aware, but the replenishment factor of the supplies that we have considered, because a lot of things now which we call essential commodities or everyday use commodities may not otherwise be essential commodities, but it has become, because of practice of daily habit, a biscuit is not otherwise an essential commodity, but in a house, a baby is accustomed to biscuits.
Yeah.
So how much will he have rice? So that kind of supplies must be ensured so that there is no social breakdown or mental breakdown.
So now,
people come out to the streets.
Now
too.
I think from this conversation so far, I am gathering that there is need. While the Prime Minister is coming up with a national plan, I think the chief ministers or the chief secretaries of the northeastern states also need to sit together. They don't have to meet face to face. They have to have a meeting
Wasbir,
video conferencing, and the chief ministers also to strategize on these issues. Yes, Jarpom.
Wasbir, can I come in?
Yeah.
I think like earlier you said, we need a comprehensive Northeast strategy of ensuring that commodities reaches to the different states in the northeast. Say, for example, in Arunachal, for instance, Itanagar, most of the vegetable supplies come from Assam. But as soon as the number of COVID positive cases, started shooting up in Assam, the vegetable supplies were choked. Now, from Assam, it was banned. The entry was banned. But now, the Assam government should devise a mechanism where they can certify that, it's coming from a safe zone, And, government of Arunachal also need not panic. So, that kind of coordination need to be worked out. That's my humble submission.
Yeah, I think that is what I said. I think that
the importing states must also be proactive too.
Wasbir, can I come in?
Yeah. Yes.
Can I come in, please?
Go ahead,
See,
Patricia.
I also would like to appeal to the I would like to appeal to Government of India and to all the state governments to ensure that medicinal supplies are not in a critical situation. Because as of today, there are people who use hydroxychloroquine for arthritis, and they are not able to get it. So we have to make sure, especially with the medicinal supplies, they should not go out of the market, please.
Okay, that is important. That is important. Now, Professor Amarimnam, do you think there is a strategy necessary? We have to define lockdown instead of wasting time. We have to define lockdown and what's going on. I think this is not the time for politics. Today, we have to move ahead and come up with strategies.
That is, we are already late in doing that, and in fact, we are so happy with what some of the Gurudwaras have been responding to the crisis. But what the Gurudwaras do are not substitute what a state is supposed to do.
Yes.
So the basic responsibility is of the state. Well, when it comes to the basic responsibility of the state has to see to it that the basic needs of the people are met. So the core strategy has to be to ensure that everybody has her or his basic needs met during this lockdown period. This is the moment for the character of the government to be put before the public. In Manipur, during the last few days, very unpalatable kind of a thing, fighting between ministers and fighting between, head of the people and other representatives about the rice quota. This is sufficient to meet the needs of the people, and when other parties saying that this is not sufficient. Well, the last 2 days I've been trying to get what actually is the volume of rice which were supplied to each constituency. Well, that is confidential. We don't even have the figures.
Okay,
what is the harm
supplying rice
quota given to this country?
Exactly, I agree with you. Transparency is the need of the hour. Why can't you be transparent about what you are distributing?
Yes.
At the end of the day, you are distributing people's money amongst themselves. Now the question is, Patricia Mukim, very interesting thoughts coming out in the social media. A lot of people are asking the question: the poorest of the poor, the government and the civil society takes care of them. The rich people, they can take care of themselves. They have no problem. What about the lower middle class? They cannot go out on the streets to beg. They cannot expect people to give you essential items. They are the worst hit, like a small trader, a small shop owner, daily wage earner, a rickshaw puller, a auto rickshaw driver. So, do you think we need something for these people as well? Now, does it come under the broad strategy or not?
Yeah,
because we have to think now.
It should come under the broad strategy. We need to assess the risk that every category is facing. Because as you said, different categories are facing this emergency in different ways. Some are just coping, some are not coping at all. For instance, I saw a poor sort of laborer today who said he didn't have work for almost 2 weeks now, and he's just going around looking for work. Can you imagine walking on the streets looking for work? So do we in every locality have a a list of such people who are really desperate, and what are we going to do for them? The problem with COVID is it's an unprecedented thing. And as I said earlier, there is no standard operating procedure. We are developing as we go along. I think what you had suggested about assessing the risks of each category of citizens is very important at this juncture.
All right, Jarpum Gamlin, your final comments. Jarpum, I'm running short of time.
Final comment, number one, I think lockdown should be continued. Number two, no staggered opening of the lockdown should be done by Assam government. That would lead to explosion of COVID positive in the whole of Northeast region. I think number three, essential commodities need to be worked out as a whole of Northeast together, not statewide, because vegetable supplies or the commodity supplies, most of them are coming through Guwahati because that's the commercial hub for the entire Northeast region. So there need to be a committee, there need to be coordination amongst the governments of the whole of Northeastern state. Number four, I think we, like all of you suggested, a committee to be formed, but I really think that time is of essence at the moment. So therefore, we have established student bodies across whole of the country that can be utilized at the moment. And thirdly, within the state, we have community-based organization, apex bodies are there. Their help their help should be taken. Their assistance should be taken. In terms of devising a communication strategy, their service should be taken. I think government needs to be clear-cut about what lockdown means to people, and they should be widely publicizing it through social media, through WhatsApp, through video, whatever it takes. But communication must go down to the brass tack levels.
Absolutely, Jarpum. Professor Amarim Nam, your parting comments.
Well, we must strategize the whole approach, and the government should come out very clearly on what exactly are the components of the interventions they have in their mind. And I go along with the suggestion coming from our Arunachal friend that we need to strategize in such a way that the supply chain issue is addressed. Because what Arunachal has raised a supply chain issue, and by addressing that issue, we must ensure that everybody is ensured of the basic needs of her livelihood.
Mr. Swapnil Barua?
My final words would be, please remember that 3 is a crowd. Please don't crowd. Secondly, for the government, please prepare to see decreased tensions at every level, be it food, be it social tensions, or be it commodity requirements. And please be prepared for a longer haul and ensure that there is a cooperation among the northeastern states, and do not wait for Delhi for instructions in all cases. Be proactive and start on your own.
Be proactive and start on your own. Last words to you, Patricia Mukim, last words to you.
No, I would like to reiterate what Jarpum said about not opening up the floodgates, once there is some relaxation. I think it is better that people remain where they are. They should be assisted where they are, because we cannot deal with an exigency of having a surfeit of COVID positive cases. We are not prepared for that. We are prepared at least for the lockdown, but if we have to deal with the disease itself, then we will be in a very difficult situation.
Absolutely. Lot of suggestions coming up, whether there has to be an advisory panel, there has to be a committee or an advisory panel that can comprise people from various departments as well as leaders from the civil society and academia to advise the government and to keep track of what is going on where while the government goes about doing their business, to strategizing things. But the most important point is that government has to define what the lockdown means, and that definition has to trickle down to the people who are actually enforcing out on the streets, trying to enforce the lockdown, or at least take care of those who violate the lockdown. But we are supporting the lockdown, but we also urge the government to be very, very clear on what the lockdown means and what are the areas that are being exempted, what are the trade and business, what are the activities that are being exempted even during the lockdown while taking care of one's health as well as the health of others. These are things which the government have to introspect. Government has to come up sooner than later. And of course, Government cannot shirk responsibility of all the northeastern people who are stranded outside at this very, very critical juncture. I thank all my panelists for participating in the program and the viewers for watching the show. Good night and goodbye.
Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.